Yo, what's going on in the land of YouTube? What's going on, YouTubers? I'm just YouTubing with you guys. How is everybody today? Chevy, what is going on? KT, whoa, that's a huge super chat. Get the flock out of here. Jason Dollarhide, which means that's Heather Dollarhide. Dan Hanlon, what is going on? Ward, what is going on? DJ Smith, how are you? Anthony, Bronco Nation, good to see you, Mikey. Let's go. Let's go. So I had to get a couple things done today, so I had to be on the road a little bit today. And there was a couple videos that I really had queued up that I wanted to talk with you guys about, but there was just not enough minutes in the day to get everything done that I want to get done. Katie, thanks for the super chat. I mean, if that's a typo, I can send that back to you. I'm in touch with you on Instagram, so we don't stop. We don't stop. What's going on, Richie? How is you, Josh? Hey, Ward, thanks for joining as a new member. I appreciate it. Scott, what's going on? You know, there's a couple things to really consider and to think about. You know, I know that I wanted to show you guys a couple of videos today, but I wanted to kind of reiterate. I say a lot of the things that I say. I know that sometimes I'm like a broken record stuck on repeat. But you are the resistance. You, the person watching this, you are the resistance. You're the resistance. I mean, I keep on saying this to people, but then I find out that they don't have a camera set up. They don't have a dash cam. They're not recording cops. They're not actively recording cops. And that's what it truly takes for us to become a bigger team of people, Team DLZ. You know, we have to be actively recording cops all the time. Every time you see a copper, you should be recording him. Every single person here should have a trifold set up in their visor so that if anything goes wrong, you have it. You know, I see a lot of videos where people are talking to police, and I'm like, look, you know, that's not really your role. Your role is to just get through this and then sue his ass if he makes a single mistake, because you got the whole thing on camera. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. Josh Almighty said you learn a lot. Good, Josh. I'm super glad. You know, every time the cops pull you over, they're playing this word salad game with you. They're playing a game with you to try to get you to say the wrong thing or incriminate yourself or say something that would give them reasonable, articulable suspicion. They could simply say to you, hey, were you on 3rd Street earlier today? And it's a small town, and you're like, I probably drove by 3rd Street some point today. Put your hands behind your back. You're being detained. There was a robbery on 3rd Street. It matched the description of your car. What'd you do? You told him you'd been on 3rd Street. You're from that town. You don't think he's going to put you in torture cuffs. You lived there your whole life. That's what happens when you start talking to cops. When you start the back and forth, hey, where are you heading? Oh, I'm just going over to my girlfriend's house. Well, where does she live? She lives on the other side of town. What part of the other side of town? Bro, I don't want to tell you where my girlfriend lives. Why aren't you cooperating? And that's the whole thing. You got to be like this warrior for your rights. And I was reading the comments earlier, and someone said in the comments, I like this guy. He's just a little bit extra. And I said, which part of my rights are extra? How am I extra when my rights are all included in one lump sum? There's no extra rights. Another guy said, man, this guy really goes overboard. I haven't even started. I've just begun. There's no limit to where my rights are limited. My rights are not limited. That's the whole point. You have got to be a badass. These cops are driving around with a skull, with a blue stripe down the skull, with a knife down the top of it, wearing gang symbols, repeating to each other when they go out, hey, buddy, whatever it takes for you to go home safe at the end of your shift, attaboy, whatever it takes for you to go home safe at the end of your shift. Give you a little elbow, whatever it takes for you to go home safe at the end of your shift. High five. That's what they say to each other. They literally, their mantra, the police is, I mean, you guys can write it into the comment section, but I'll just tell you what it is. You know as well as I do, what the cops say to each other is whatever it takes for you to go home safe at the end of your shift. Knuckle dap. Give me a dap. There it is. Hey, I had to, I went to a call today to a domestic and a husband, wife, and they were fighting. And the guy, he had like a bloody nose. And the wife came out, and I told her to sit on the couch, sit down right there. I'm talking to your husband. And she didn't. And I went to go push her back, and I didn't mean to, but man, I shoved her so hard, and she smacked the back of her head on the wall. I had to put her in an ambulance. Other cop looks at him and goes, whatever it takes for you to go home safe at the end of your shift, bud. Knuckle dap. That's what they say to each other. That's what they say to each other. Everybody, do me a favor. Hit the like button. Take your finger and just reach down to the thumb. It looks like this. And then just tap, little tap, tap, tappy. A little tap, tap. Taparama on the like button. If you would, pretty please. Little tap dance on its ass. Little maybe 2-finger tap, tap, tap. Little tap, 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 tap. And then if you would, please, will you drop down in the comment section? I'm taking a look at it now. OTVO, overturn Terry versus Ohio. I mean, and the ironic part about overturn Terry versus Ohio is that Ohio is one of the biggest police state, prison state, death states there is in all of America. Isn't it ironic, or is there no irony in the fact that Terry versus Ohio, that since 1968, I guess we'd have to go back to 1963 when John Terry was downtown Cleveland on Euclid Avenue, and the cops grabbed him, Darren McFadden, because he was hanging around downtown. Ain't supposed to be hanging around downtown, Blackie. That's what he said to him, as he said, I don't like how they look. And then he put him in torture cuffs. I don't like how he looks. I think Darren McFadden was just a tad bit racist. What do you think? Well, I just find it the most amazing that Ohio is still the most corrupt state I've been to yet. I didn't spend much time in Louisiana. I drove through Louisiana, but I didn't spend much time there. And I did get to spend a lot of time in New Jersey. New Jersey's pretty corrupt as well. And of course, I was only in Florida for one day in 2022. And so I didn't really get to do any investigations in Florida as well. I'm just saying I'm open to other states being more corrupt than Ohio. But when you talk about Terry versus Ohio, when you really get into the nitty gritty, into the minutia, into the details of Terry versus Ohio, well, how come it is? Why do you think it is that I get on here and I talk ad nauseum about Terry versus Ohio? You're going to be like, man, I'm so tired of hearing about this. Well, are you tired of DUI checkpoints? I told you the 1990 case of Sitz versus Michigan State Police, it hinges. It's only possible because of the landmark Terry case that created new laws created by the Supreme Court personnel. So if you drive by and you don't hate DUI checkpoints, well, then you're looking at Terry versus Ohio. You got to get out of the car if you're the driver in the name of officer safety. Pennsylvania versus Mims is an extension of Terry versus Ohio. If you're the passenger in the car, you got to get out of the car in the name of officer safety. The 2009 case of Arizona versus Johnson is an extension of Terry versus Ohio. Well, what if a dog barks at my car? The 2013 case of Florida versus Harris is an extension of Terry versus Ohio. Well, what about the cops that shoot people when they run away? That would be the 1985 case of Tennessee versus Garner that says it's unconstitutional to shoot you as you run away unless it's in the name of officer safety, and then it's justified. And that's Tennessee versus Garner, 1985, is an extension of Terry versus Ohio. Well, surely you're tired of no-knock raids and the cops raiding your homes. Then you're tired of Terry versus Ohio. Wilson versus Arkansas in 1995 is an extension of Terry versus Ohio that says that cops cannot no-knock raid your home. That would be unconstitutional, unless, of course, it's in the name of officer safety, and that would be an extension of Terry versus Ohio. I just want to be clear why I come on here constantly say we don't stop, overturn Terry versus Ohio, because Terry was the linchpin for all tyrannical law in America. Not all tyrannical law, but the majority. How many people realize that if a dog barks at my car when a canine pig has got the dog on a leash, that's probable cause? Probable cause is what you could be arrested for. So maybe, just maybe, the 2013 case of Florida versus Harris is based on the tyranny of the 1963 case called Terry versus Ohio. And maybe, just maybe, if Terry versus Ohio was overturned, the 2013 case of Florida versus Harris would have no standing, and it would be moot. You wouldn't be able to have it anymore. You wouldn't be able to have a dog barking at my car is probable cause. That's the reason why I'm so big on Terry versus Ohio. Of course, anybody ever been told on by a confidential informant? You should get to know who that confidential informant is. I'm afraid not. The 1983 case of Illinois versus Gates, it used to be that there was a two-pronged test called Aguilar-Spinelli test. That changed after Terry versus Ohio in 1968, which then created the 1983 case of Illinois versus Gates that says coppers can get a confidential informant against you, and you don't get to know who it is, and they can no-knock raid your house. All they got to do is get information in that little copy pigger ear that says that you're a drug dealer, and they can no-knock raid your house. How do I know? That exact scenario happened to me. Exactly what I'm saying. I felt anger just go over me. I got to slow down. That exact scenario happened to me, and it's the reason why you and I are talking right now. If Illinois versus Gates wasn't an extension of Terry versus Ohio in 1968, that wasn't extended in 1983 into Illinois versus Gates, in 2002, the cops would not have been able to no-knock raid my house. You see what I'm saying? The cops no-knock raided my home with me asleep in bed, naked. And they raided my home with a full SWAT team because of the 1983 case of Illinois versus Gates. That's why they no-knock raided my home. That's what happened to me. I'm not sure if you guys know or not, but I'm not a criminal. I don't deal drugs. I don't traffic people. I'm certainly not a patterass. I don't abuse animals. I don't hit people. I don't assault people. I'm no criminal. But yet they no-knock raided my house with a SWAT team. Do you understand that? They kicked down my front door with a SWAT team. With a SWAT team. Do you understand what I'm saying? Are you getting what I'm putting down, Brown? I can feel the anger go across my neck. I can feel the constriction of the capillaries. I can feel my blood pressure start to rise. I can feel the veins in my neck start to protrude as I go back into my sense memory and remember them kicking down my door at 5:30 in the morning and no-knock raiding my house with a SWAT team because of the 1968 case of Terry versus Mother in Ohio. That's what I'm talking about here. That's what I'm talking about. The real world human consequence of Terry versus Ohio in 1968 is that they no-knock raided my house in 2002 with a SWAT team. With a SWAT team of people, all with their masks on, all going, coming down, cover two, I'm coming in, I'm going hot, I'm going in. And you can hear them on their radio. I can hear them on the radio before they got to my bedroom door, talking in their SWAT lingo, bunch of G.I. Joe losers, went over to a war for oil and for money. And then they got back and figured they were heroes. I'll join the other heroes on the pig team, and I'll no-knock raid people who have no criminal history, no history of violence, and no previous charges of narcotics. But yet they did that to me, and they formed me. They molded me. They made me the person I am today. Every single time I tell this story, every time I tell this motherfucking story, every time I tell it, I can feel the capillaries in my body starting to tighten. I can feel my blood pressure rise. I can feel the pressure behind my eyes. I can feel the quaking of my voice. I can feel the breakdown of my emotional state as I relive them no-knock raiding my house. When I open my eyes and there's a half a dozen guys dressed like G.I. Joe in my house with laser beams in my eyes. I have to relive it constantly every time I talk about it. And you think that by the 100th time, it'd be a little bit easier, but it's just not. It's just not. Every single time I talk about it, it just drives the nail a little deeper into the coffin that I'm going to bury this system. I won't stop. I won't give an inch. I will not relent. Every single day, I will do this much more and this much more and this much more to break this system. That's where my head is. That's where my heart is. And that's what I'm going to do. So this is the reason why I feel the way I feel. If you didn't know me and you just met me and you just came to my channel, the reason why I do everything I do is 100% for me. Selfish, 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 just like Thomas Hobbes taught. We're all selfish. We do everything for ourselves. Well, let me tell you something. The reason why I started this is because they no-knock motherfucking raided my house. Do you understand that? Make it real. Make it real just for one little tiny second. Make it real just for a moment. If you can't make it real for yourself, make it real that your brother, your best friend, your lover, your husband, your cousin calls you on the phone and says, I'm in jail. What just happened to you? They raided my home with an entire SWAT team. If you can wrap that around your melon for a moment, you'll understand the reason why I am the way I am. Home has never been home to me ever again, because as soon as I got out of jail is when I began the research in 2002. The 1963 case of Kerr versus California, which is what the precursor for Terry versus Ohio. Without Kerr versus California, you don't have Terry versus Ohio. So 1925, Carroll versus United States. But in the Kerr case, 1963, Kerr versus California, it says the cops don't need to have a warrant. It was the do-over for that Earl Warren mess up when he created that pesky fruit of the poisonous tree in the 1961 case of Mapp versus Ohio. Oh, the cops were all mad. So that pesky fruit of the poisonous tree. So Earl Warren in 63, to fix what he did in 61, created Kerr versus California. Another law created from the bench. The cops don't need a warrant. They only need to knock, knock, knock on your door. If they knock, knock, knock and announce that they're there, they can no-knock raid your home. Kerr versus California, 1963. So how come I know all these cases off the top of my head? Why do I know this information just right here from recall? They no-knock raided my motherfucking house. The God blessed horrifically bad swineball jackboot thug pigs of this country no-knock raided my home with me asleep in bed with my girlfriend next to me. They no-knock raided me. Do you understand that? That's the reason why I am the way I am. That's the reason why I'm so hardcore. That's the reason why this morning that's the reason why this morning we sent another $1,800 to Heather Dollarhide. She's in the chat on Jason Dollarhide's, her husband's account, because we so far have raised $3,350 for the Dollarhide family. Thank you. Thank you for contributing. Thank you all for contributing to people who you don't know. I made a little video. I tried to get everything in there. I hope I did. But thank you. Thank you. We are going to help this family, and we covered her rent and Avery, the 6-year-old daughter's rent, and Jason's rent for this month. And if we have to do it again next month, and the reason we'll do it is because Terry versus motherfucking Ohio. That's why. That's the reason why I'm here. So if Terry versus Ohio is the reason why I'm here, then that's the reason you're here. And that's the reason why we'll raise another $1,800, $3,000 next month if we have to raise it for the Dollarhide family. I'm not going to watch Jason Dollarhide's house be lost, his child be lost, all of his earthly possessions be lost because his wife started selling everything they have to get him out of the dungeon. That's the kind of woman you want. That's the kind of man you want. My spouse is in the dungeon. Sell everything. Who gives a damn about anything? What does it matter if we don't have love? You can have everything in the world, but if you don't have any love, I'm sorry, my friend, you're an empty vessel. So we don't stop. I won't stop. I won't quit. I won't give up. There'll be no detouring me. There'll be no discouraging me. There won't be any scaring me. There won't be any intimidating me. I expect to go to jail, and I expect to go to jail again. I expect that I'll be arrested again, and I expect that I'll be arrested again. I expect they'll try to have a high bond for me. I expect I'll raise the money to get out. I expect they'll charge me with felonies. I expect I'll fight those charges and I'll beat them. We don't stop. We don't stop. That's it. We don't stop under any circumstances, under any conditions. The reason why I'm here and the way that you got to this channel and the way that we've been able to help out so many people, all of you wonderful people, Team DLZ, is because the cops no-knock raided me. Do you understand that? I had no violence. I still have no violence in my history. I've never been accused of dealing drugs. I've never been accused of assault and battery. I've never been accused of any kind of sexual crime or trafficking. I've never been accused of anything where I did any kind of damage to any person. And the cops no-knock raided me using the 1995 case of Wilson versus Arkansas, which is an extension of the 1968 case called Terry versus Ohio. That's the reason why I'm here, and that's the reason why we don't quit. Because I tell you what, in my lifetime, we will watch Terry fall. We will watch it fall, and we will watch it burn. I swear to you, I give you my promise, I will not quit. Scout's honor, I will not stop. I guess I never was a Boy Scout, though. I didn't plan on unloading my feelings today, but this morning I had to spend a couple hours doing accounting and then talk to Heather as she's running around trying to get a bail reduction hearing for Jason Dollarhide. My God. My God. I mean, my God. Could you imagine? Jason, we got your back. We don't stop. We won't quit. Heather, we got your back. To Team DLZ, thank you all so much for your support. I would be absolutely nothing without the support of thousands and thousands of people, especially the inner circle of Team DLZ, who continue to show up and continue to show out. And I'm so grateful for all of you. So thank you. All right, that's my time. I'll get the flock out of here. Katie, if you put a super chat in there and that's too much money, you send me a DM on Instagram and I'll send that right back to you. All right, I'm going to get the flock out of here. See you on the next one. Later, Gators.